Okay, now we're going to talk about lighting and shadows. Now, a couple of things we need to know before we start constructing the shadows. When I construct a shadow, I'm going to be using natural sunlight. What that means is that when we put shadows down, that the light beams are going to be parallel to each other because the sun is so big. That'll also make our lives a lot easier when we're constructing the shadows. Next thing we need to know about the shadows is that when we light it, we want to light it between 45 degrees and 90 degrees. I don't really want 90 degrees because when it casts down, there won't be a shadow. But I want it above 45. That way we can control the length of the shadow. If the lighting source is too low, what's going to happen is that the shadow is going to be extremely long. And we want to be able to control it on the page. So I suggest something around 75 to 80 degrees, something like this. That way our shadow will be manageable. Okay, let me start by establishing my first light ray. Okay, I'm going to pick an arbitrary spot, something roughly about 75, 80 degrees. You see that? Now I'm going to mark that point as A. Now this next point is going to be B, and this next point is going to be C. And what I want to do is, I want the shadow rays to come down parallel. Okay? Parallel. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to try to line up these beams and make them parallel. Okay? And then I got one more for C. Now when I do C here, I want it parallel along with the A and the B. Okay, so now I've got A, B, and C established. Now, the next step I'm going to do is that I need to draw a line parallel to this baseline right here. Okay, I want to keep it fairly close. I'm going to draw a light line right there. Okay, now what we need to do is connect the dots. Okay, so if A comes down and it hits this point, we'll call that A. When B comes down and it hits that point, we'll call that B. So now I'm going to connect the dots from this front edge to the A, and then from the A to the B. Now, what are we going to do about this backside where C is? Well, you see that there's a baseline in the back as well here. What I want to do is I want to establish a parallel line from the B point and follow the back edge of the cube. See that line right there? And now we're going to follow the C all the way down to where it hits that line here. And then we are going to connect the dot. And this will be your shadow construction. Now, the parts that are visible, I'm going to hatch for you. Hatch means I'm going to be drawing these vertical lines that just establish that this is the part that's going to be shown. The parts in the back here are technically there, but they are hidden behind the cube. So I'm just indicating that they're there, but they're hidden. Now, what I want to establish here is that I have a horizontal line drawn from the base of the diamond here across horizontally. If you'll notice, the point where the B is above that horizontal line. That's good. What that means is that the shadow is pushing away from us. Now, if you happen to draw a line where that B point is below this horizontal line, that's bad. What that means is that you are backlighting it. Your light source is in the back, pushing the shadow to us. Okay? Now, the final touch on this that I want to do is that when we render this object, we're going to be going for a shiny rendering, a glossy rendering. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to see a reflective light. What that means is, you see where the shadow is here, where the base is? It's going to reflect itself back into the side of the object. So I'm going to mirror the shadow here and here. And then you see where that A point is? I'm going to mirror that back on the side to the front edge. And this is technically called my reflective light. And you'll understand why when we start the rendering. Okay, see you at the next session.